Good morning. I'm still not eating very well today. Mama just left. I just saw her leave. She ran down the sidewalk, went across the street. So, what else? Maybe she'll come back. Dude, I thought I got the plate last night before. Didn't I go outside and pick up the plates when it was dark? What's that doing out there? I can't. Didn't I? Remember? Anyway, I'm gonna go be right back. Thanks for being here. Northwest Media, first one here. Sister T, second. Oh, Brody YYZ. Oh, I don't know, man, where that plate came from. So weird. I thought I made it a point. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to. Whatever. Hey, I'm bummed that Mama left. It was too late for Mama. Fucking. I slept through 3 alarms last night to feed Sweet Pea and get Simon's food back out. I didn't get up until freaking 3:57. I woke up. I remember it was 3:57, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I looked at the sink, and both of their bowls were in the sink, and I was like, "Oh no, I forgot to feed her." Simon, it really doesn't matter. He doesn't eat anyway. But like, it was a little late for her. I was supposed to get it out by 12:30 or so. It was a little late. She scarfed all of it down, and she's already finished her breakfast too. Oh my goodness. So hungry. I don't know how I slept through it, man. I slept through 3. I set it for 12, 12:10, and 12:20. Because that's how important it is to me. I can't believe I slept through all 3 of them. Larceny sleep. No, well, I ended it with what did I end it with? We went from larceny to I always forget the name of the other one. The Heaven Hill product. I remember that. It's aged for 7 years. I always forget the name of it though. What in the heck is the name of it? Hey, dude? What's up, man? Good morning. You remember what the last thing I cracked open last night was? I know it was a rye, but I can't remember which rye it was. A special. Oh, that's right. Baker's 7. Thanks, Baker's. Yeah, that's what we ended with. Yeah, you got a good memory, Sister T. After that, yeah, yeah. Tossing and turning. So I got 2 different bowls you could take outside. One of them has Simon's old food in it, like 50 grams of it, but it has an abundance of Fancy Feast natural beef, a little higher end than the regular Fancy Feast. It's a chipped, kind of chunky. It's not pate. So I got one side is that it's like 85 grams plus 50 grams or something of the old food, and we're gonna see if they just completely are like, nope. The other one's got that same Fancy Feast food as well as but it's been in the refrigerator for a day. The other one's got new fancy feast food in it. So maybe entice them to eat Simon's old food, and it's got some other food that Simon would need in it. So it's more of a buffet style flavor. Oshkosh, bagosh. Well, no, it doesn't have his old food. So it's more beef, chicken. It's got a little bit of chicken and pork in it. That'd be it. Yeah, it's Simon. I got him the tiki beef and beef liver, and he's eating a little. He's not eating like what he should be, for sure. I did get him to drink. First thing when I got up, I got him to drink almost an entire pouch of Hydrocare before giving him his full pill of methimazole. That way, he's at least got some fluids to help him process the pill. We'll see. Hopefully today things get better with having more medication. Has two, yeah, Baker 7. It was the Baker 7 High Rye, is the one I had. That's pretty rare. I'd never seen it before. It's a limited release. Honestly, I think I preferred the regular Baker 7 to the High Rye. High Rye just didn't seem to have as much flavor for that. It's supposed to have more flavor, but Larceny definitely had more flavor. But it is also like more than 10% stronger. Sweet Pea just took a poop. Hey, Sweet Pea just took a poop. Hey, Bakers. Oh, you had Bakers too? I like to try the Bakers 13, but pricey. I never see it either. I didn't, not locally. Locally, it'd be even more expensive though. Just Costco got it. that all right now. All right. Think Tux will still be out there? I've read it super late today. I didn't feel like getting up at 5:30. I set the alarm. I reset it for 6. I don't know, man. Need a slight break. Oh, you tried the rye? You tried the high rye too? I mean, man, I'd never seen it. I have known bakers for a while, over a year. Man. Yeah, he'll be out there. And then Mama will come back too, probably. It's going to be interesting to see if he'll eat one with Simon's food in it. Because one of them has like day old food that's been in the fridge, and the other one has Simon's. Well, the other one's had food that's been in the fridge too, though. Yeah, Simon's old food. Ziwi. But they're warming up. They're like in bowls right now, warming up a little bit, make it a little more palatable. Dude, this fucking holy moly, dude! Hey, what the wrist? I must have done something wrong whenever I cleaned this. I did it too hastily with alcohol instead of using soap. I should have got in there with soap because, dude, my right hand isn't really flaring up at all. I know y'all heard that. Oh no! I was at the door. Oh my goodness, Simon, I hope you eat lunch today because it doesn't look like you're eating much breakfast. Oh. But the extra thyroid medication should help you stop losing weight so fast. As well as your heart. Heart. Not fast enough. Food. Dude, if I didn't have that hydrocare, it'd be way worse though. I think. I think that helps him have an appetite, like getting that fluids in him and getting a little bit of protein that's in the fluid, you know. And it's like like how an appetizer works. You know, you put a little bit of food in you before the meal, and it's supposed to like make you a little more like because you're not filling yourself up with it. It makes you a little like, want to eat more actually. Right? Is it that? No. Fuck. Fuck. All right. Oh my gosh, you two. Okay. Stop it. fucking emergency broadcast. Some emergency broadcast endangered elderly or some shit. I don't know. Was what did it. I'm just eating the one with Simon's food in it. With the Ziwi. It's only got like 50 grams in there. A can of that is like 185 grams. So I just need to find a way to dispose. Motherfucker. Damn it. I just need to find a way to dispose of it. Sucks. There we go. But it's got mostly Fancy Feast naturals beef. A lot of gravy, little meat chunks. Dude, man. Oh man, I need to figure out something. I want to keep doing because this phone is just not where it's at anymore. Can't hold a fucking signal in here. It's only from in here. Simon, hey, Simon. Be less crazy on more thyroid medication. Oh man, they give you another fucking alert. And they're both still eating. It's kind of cool that they're both eating, but no video. Oh, maybe it was that box that was next to the fucking Wi-Fi router. That's probably what it was, dude. That's why I moved it. It worked. I didn't notice she'd gotten that cardboard box near the router on the floor. I guess that's it. At least we caught the end. I actually saw that little interaction. Oh. We open the door periodically and it catches a signal, but then it loses it. I mean, oops. Maybe the signal's bouncing around the house like that. There is a lot of food left in Mama's bowl. The Tux ate most of his. Like Mama's bowl's got a lot scooted to the left. I think she ate somewhere else first. Tux, I don't think he ate anywhere else before this meal, probably, but he did scurry off quickly. I don't know if you guys could see that, but he scurried off pretty. He trotted. Did you guys see me petting him? Like when I put the food down and stuff? Or was that blacked out too? Oh, cool. Dude, I feel like a film on my hands after petting him, though. It should still be flea free, though. Hopefully parasite free because of that. Yeah. I think he's still scrapping, though. I think that's why the nose gets stuff going on with it, maybe. Looks like it's been hit a couple times. Like some claws. It was nice to see Mommy next to him, too. I mean, that's why I put the two bowls off. That way they can maybe start getting along, be in each other's colony. Because right now they're not. He's separate from her. He's a more of a stray. She's a feral, and I'm starting to think he's living in the backyard. I can't tell. He was never really very skinny. I always thought he had a nice build to him. Kind of muscular. Dude, he jumps all over, up in the trees, up on top of the fences. He's athletic. Why he needs as many calories as possible, really. I think he's still pretty young. Probably less than 2 years. I still got to register her chip. I was still up in the air about her name, what I wanted to have on the chip. His face looks different, I think. I should take a face picture of him next time I'm out there and do a side by side. I should have done it yesterday because now I think he got in a fight recently. Well, wouldn't you know it, a dang camera's gonna stay up just fine now that the cats are. I had them pretty close to each other there too. The bowls there. They were still eating. Mama could have fleas by now though. No one else is helping her with that. Which eventually will cause her to have parasites probably. I probably need to have Tux looked at to make sure he's been neutered. I don't know. Dude, I've started buying these Nestle bottles because they're a thicker plastic and the caps are a little easier to manage. They're not as tiny, like just a little bit bigger. And I was reading the back of it, and it says sources. The first one says deep protected well in San Bernardino County, California. The next one says deep protected well, Riverside County. And or, okay, this is where you gotta keep reading. And or, so they're gonna either add this other water, or it's gonna be all this other water source. And that other water source is, you guys guessed it, the public water supply, Sacramento, California. But at least it's filtered better, you know? As long as the water is stored correctly, like, shouldn't be any problem with the plastic leaching into it, I guess. But if they're stored out in the sun, I think that can be a problem, possibly. Dude, I got some vodka once that tasted like chemicals. It was the most putrid fucking. I knew what vodka tasted like. At the time, I was like, uh, alky status. I would get vodka first thing in the morning, a pint, and take that to the library, and they had these cubicles where I could sit in there on my laptop and close a tinted door, a glass tinted door. If I got there early, first thing, I could go up in there and chill pretty much fucking all day long if I wanted to on my laptop with Wi-Fi, downloading music most of the time because we were still doing that back then. And that vodka tasted like straight laboratory chemicals. And I was with somebody that day. It was a downtown, right outside the convention center. We were at the Dub show. Ice Cube was there performing at that one that year. So you can date it by looking at Dub show, Ice Cube performing mid 2000s, somewhere around there. We went around the corner down some alley because I don't know if they didn't have alcohol or they just, it was too expensive. We were like, fuck this, let's just go get a bottle. And she was probably a bigger alky than me. Like, she was drinking at work. She would have a Sparks beer or whatever, one of those energy beers, all day long. She would drink those at work. She'd have them under her desk. They didn't know what they were or whatever at the time. I guess I didn't see them. But dude, we went to this old liquor store and down the alley, and we were like looking at what they got. We're like, yeah, give me that dusty old pint you got up there, you know, the top shelf or whatever. It was not top shelf liquor, you know, of course. But we're walking down the alley drinking it, and I like swig. One of us swigs first, and we're like, what the fuck? The other one swigs, and they're like, yeah, what the fuck? What are we drinking? We still drank the shit too, dude. It was crazy. But it was almost like gin. You know how gin's got like a weird fucking flavor to it because all the herbs and whatnot. Like, vodka isn't supposed to taste anything like gin, you know, because chemical herbs flavor. So probably what happened is that thing had either been up there on that shelf for like a decade in a plastic bottle, or it had been out in the heat, or maybe the sun was actually able to hit that part of the shelf every day or something through the window. Who knows? And it like helped it leach into that, because I think alcohol would be more conducive to plastic leaching than water. It's already a harsher solvent. Ice Cube is a better actor than musician. You want this? You guess what? You can't have it. Sorry. Need it. Need it. Like, On. Are you gonna chill with me? Are you showing the people your butthole? Here, let them see it. Do it again. There was a series. I did see it. Oh, this is the Fridays. Yeah. He did have some good rhymes though, man, as a rapper. He's typecast though. Like he's always the same actor, you know, same character. You know who's like who was like a holy shit, I can't believe that dude can be these different roles. Is that buff ass black dude? What's his name? He's still alive. Tiny, not Tiny Lister, because that dude passed. I met Tiny Lister, Devo, but it's that other dude. It's done like the uh, Old Spice commercials with his titties. Like, you would have thought someone that fucking huge could be so hilarious, man. That dude's hilarious. The white girls scene where he's like singing to that chick, thinking she's a chick, but she's the dude, undercover cop or whatever. Remember? Da 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 da. He gets a lot of hate in Hollywood too because of like when he called out that dude for grabbing his dick or something, grabbing his ass. Because I think he's a better actor than The Rock, actually, too. Rock's pretty much typecast. The Rock is more typecast than that black dude is. He's got to be the hero. Dude, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood for years. And for a while, if you put him in a movie, people would go see it. Especially when they had him and Kevin Hart in movies, like uh, both of them working off of each other, you know. People liked that, I think. And at the time, Kevin Hart, I think, was the highest paid comedian when they were doing those movies. Same time, The Rock was the highest paid actor. Dave Chappelle could have been the highest paid actor, but he was like, fuck y'all, I'm going to Africa. Where these cats at, man? Like, I do my duty. I put the bowls, I put the food. It's like they don't like the food. The seaweed, rabbit, and lamb in it. And man, I wish I could get a refund for it now. I can't believe I can't even get the outdoor cast to eat it. Do you think I should hit them up anyway, even though it's been past 30 days? Just because I got so many of them? Be like, yo, these things, bro. Cats aren't eating these anymore. Any of them. Something's wrong with your food, man. I didn't know until after 30 days. can you do for me? Maybe. Extreme measures. What Trump 2.0 means for immigration. HS. Hour long. The hell?
That I know of, and don't quote me on it, was 2000.
Dude, it was chilly out there. In the bowls out there, by the way, y'all. I am putting myself out there in the frigid Long Beach climate for you guys and the kitties. Everybody, look at this. I think I got frostbite. Do you see this? Tip of my ear there. I have the heater so close to me right now. Dude, I should have worn my Jack Wolfskin coat and put some thermals on, but I don't want fleas jumping all over me. Oh my god, is it already time to put the headset on? Frigid. How hard it is to live in this frigid tundra. It's freaking cold in here, man. It's 24.2 Celsius. I almost see my breath. He's going to eat an MRE because I feel like I'm a soldier. I'm a survivor out here in the frigid tundra of Long Beach, blocks from the beach. No wonder it's so cold. It's that marine layer. Fuck, dude. Forgot about this shit. In the morning time, it like gets cold as shit and then it gets warm again. It's because the marine layer comes in. It's an interesting anomaly or whatever, because the coldest part of the day is when the marine layer is coming in, because then it also affects humidity levels. Like dry cold air isn't as cold as wet cold air, because wetness is a better conductor than air. So it conducts the cold Also conducts the heat. That's why human environments are so fucking hot, right? Is he gonna eat the Z? He came in hot. You see that? Dude, see? He is not going for the Z. There's a decent amount of food in that second bowl. Bruh. For anybody that doesn't understand, the marine layer situation here, it happens along the entire, from my understanding, the entire coastline gets it. I'm not sure if the East Coast gets it the same. Do they? Hey, East Coasters know if that happens over there? Like, cause like you'd think that the sun coming up would be like it would start to get warmer, but it doesn't here. It's still like that's when you get like this like cold shock all of a sudden. How did the temperature work today? Let me see what happened with it. I can't. Yeah, see, it doesn't start getting warmer until like 8 a.m. and gradually starts getting warmer. But that's pretty late because the sun comes up at like 6:30. I think what happens is the humidity starts rising as the sun's coming up because of how it pushes the marine layer inland. Or does it sometimes push it out to the sea, depending on something? I'm not sure about that. It might. But, I mean, the ocean water here is very cold. I think that's why it happens. Because as the earth starts heating up, the moisture wants to come in. It wants to equilibrate or equalize, so it wants to come into the dry part. It kind of sucks it over because it causes like a pressure difference because the temperature difference, water, the water over the water and the air over the land starts getting warmer because the land allows it to. It's harder for the air to get warmer over the water because the water is so cold. Which is also why there's a surface layer in the water, which does actually get warmer. And below the surface layer, it's dramatically colder. And you're able to bounce sound off of it. You can either ricochet it off just the surface layer, or you can puncture through the surface layer and have it bounce from the seafloor to the surface layer, to the seafloor to surface layer. Depending on different frequencies and different angles as you shoot it at. I was a sonar technician. That's only for active sonar that you're doing that with. Passive sonar, you're just listening, of course. It's not staying in any certain layer. At least that's how ours works. They might have a new updated version now. A submarine, they can tell. Submarines are always higher tech anyway. They can probably even tell depth of something when they're passively perceiving their target, or I would doubt it. Sonar techs on board a submarine are very highly regarded because they're the eyes of the ship. They're more than just whale hunters. Hey, we got a whale over there. Yeah. Dude, actually, we find more whales and shrimp pockets and dolphins than anything else. Oh, and cargo ships. Thing a lot of people don't realize, sonar picks up, it detects enemies much further away. So in time of war, sure, a sonar technician is going to be more highly regarded on board a surface ship. But if we're like not really needing to detect ships an extremely long distance away, we're not as necessary, because radar doesn't bounce off the atmosphere and then bounce back to the ship. The way radar works, in case anybody doesn't know, it has to have a straight line. Once you hit the curvature, radar starts falling off its ability to be able to detect. Well, see, sound doesn't work like that. Sound will bounce off the water and keep going with the curve, and then be able to bounce back. Or with passive, you can detect over the curve with sound. So sonar will detect a ship long before radar will, or especially long before the lookouts will. They can only see about 12, 13 miles. That's on a clear, perfect night. 9. Dude. So hundreds of miles sonar can detect something. If I remember correctly. Let's see. How far can passive sonar detect a ship? Hey, knock it off. Really? This is saying only 10. Oh, wait, no, here we go. All things perfect, low frequency sound can be heard on a good passive system from 100 plus kilometers away. There we go. This is answered 7 months ago. How far can a naval vessel detect with its sonar? And where's this answer at? Where's that answer at? Here we go. Really depends on quite a lot of factors and the type of sonar, passive versus active, or whole versus towed. Yeah, towed's going to be able to hear stuff much further away too, because it gets a towed array gets the sonar away from ship's noise, so it can really detect further. The frequency of the sound being detected, salinity. That's true too. Salinity levels matter. So the higher the salinity, the more conductive the water is. Forgot about that. Is temperature, maybe. Sea floor and sea state all come into play. That's true too, because if the sea floor has got a lot of rigidity to it, if it's not super flat, it won't bounce back the signals as well. It'll make it like it absorbs the sound, kind of like having bumpy shit on your wall in the background. It helps to refract it. What does this guy say? All things perfect, a low frequency sound can be heard on a good passive system from 100 plus kilometers away. Active sonar is in a whole other kettle of fish, and ranges would not be advertised, but would also depend on the above sea conditions, frequency, dual versus single, and power of the system. Materials like anechoic tiles on submarines, and even the shape of the hull can also influence detection range. In many cases, a submarine will be at a sonar advantage to a surface vessel too, as I said earlier. They can hear much more. And yeah, it's classified apparently. It's classified how far they can hear actively, sounds like. See, wonder if that, I'm going to put active on this one and see if it gives me a definitive answer. Active sonar is so strong on a ship, on any U.S. Navy ship, that it's also a weapon. If there was ever an enemy diver next to the ship, they can scramble their brains with it. It's that freaking loud. Kind of makes me wonder, not hurting too many animals out there. You can see it. It's so loud that it's visual. When they're going, you can fucking see. I wonder if I can find a video of it. I bet I can. I think I have before. It's really neat, and it doesn't sound anything like you think it's supposed to. Oh, these people got hit by it? Oh, this is a real sonar ping sound like. Come here. But what did it sound like underwater? Oh, this is what a sonar room looks like. Check this out. In the sonar area, this is the how old school everything is. With the computer like this is broadband sonar right here. They're looking for anomalies on here. You're not just listening to the sound, you're looking at the sound as a sonar tag. Looking for like a colored, like how it gets thick right there in that spot. You see up here, it's getting thick right there. That's probably a ship or something, or a whale or something right there. But I think he's actually looking at the passive sonar screen. I could be wrong, though. It's been a long time. What is this? That was a whale. You hear that? That's what you're mostly listening to as a sonar tag. Whales and shrimp. Dolphins. I've never seen this. It's cool.
Pretty much the eyes and ears of the boat. I'm passively listening to what's out in the water. There's STGs, which are on surface ships, and STSs are on submarines. We detect, track, and classify contacts.
Oh, it's in color now. Wow.
It
Have
might
that
be the
fancy
most
shit.
important way of tracking. Radar can't go under the water. So if there's submarines out there, then sonar's gonna pick it up first. And with passive, our range is immense.
Okay, passive's a little further. I thought so.
This contact came in. 6-2. Bright lines will tell me that there is sound, and I can move my cursor over top of it, and if I listen closely, if it's a ship, I'm gonna hear like propellers or maybe engine noise, depending on the kind of ship it is.
Cavitation.
Sometimes, if I look down this bearing here, I might hear biologics, which is like whales or dolphins. But if it's a submarine, it's going to be a lot quieter.
Sonar has 6 computer screens in front of them.
Dude, this must be Submariner sonar, because we didn't have any of this shit. This is so nice looking. Wow. Whee!
People can trust in me to do my job and do it well.
Yeah, I think it's Submariner.
Sometimes it's hard. A lot of times it's hard, but it's very rewarding. I really like the people that I work with.
It's definitely a submarine.
I'll have the rest of my life.
I'm kind of blown away.
What? You get a
Things that I
fucking
do,
periscope?
Stuff that I've done.
That's cool.
It's a very small.
They get their own periscope.
Who've ever done that.
That's dope as shit. Yo, it would be cooler being STS on a submarine for sure. They get better stuff. The newest sonar equipment goes on the subs first, of course. But dude, you got to learn the fucking weirdest shit though. Doing that, we'd had to listen to cavitation for like hours. Getting trained on cavitation. What cavitation is it's usually like one prop that's making some noise, which allows you to get information about what ship you're actually listening to just off of its cavitation on the propeller. It allows you to know whether it's got 5 blades or 4 or 3. And depending on what area of the world you're in, you can narrow down if it's a trawler, if it's if it's an actual warship, how fast it's going, all kind. Once you figure out what it is by its noise, you could figure out like other things, like how fast it might be going, or yeah, it's kind of crazy, dude. We had to take tests on it. We'd have to listen to cavitation and figure out what the hell we were listening to. If it was a trawler, if it was a warship, if it was a warship, they would tell us what area of the world we're in, and we'd have to figure out like what exactly we were listening to. If it wasn't a trawler, fishing trawler, or cargo ship. Or even they'd have like a small boat on there. They would be like, yeah, it's a personal small craft. And that was before we even started looking at any screens of broadband sonar and what all it was just listening. And that was after oceanography class. You learn about the ocean and everything. How it's different with the salinity, the temperature. Eddies, how eddies affect things. Whirlpools. Shifts are 4 hours in the Navy. But the thing is, like that's the person that's on, like that's on the sonar, right? You got to be on sonar for that 4 hours. You can't leave. But you're still like, it's not like you only work 4 hours a day when you're in the Navy. It's just that's your watch. And sometimes your watch would land in the day. So then you would get to not have to go paint or whatever, not have to clean. You get to be on duty with sonar, or it could be at night, and then you have to work your regular day all day doing whatever, cleaning or doing maintenance, and then you got to get up in the middle of the night and have watch. Yeah, man. And as a sonar tech, we felt like we were we're in time of peace, so it was unnecessary for us to really be like, we would still do our job, of course, but half the time we were sleeping up in there. We'd be knocked the fuck out. Sonar, there might be one dude, there might be one dude that's awake in there, you know what I mean? But there'd be 3 of us in there, 2 of us would be knocked out. Head on the console. It's like, I mean, we usually had a sub with us anyway that was gonna hear shit long before we did. We were known for just taking showers. See, in a sonar for submarines, they can't do that type of shit. So that's why we didn't get as much respect. We were literally known for just being the most clean people. I don't know if they were saying we beat off a lot or something, but we always had time to take showers. I didn't really do anything that was just, it was more, I appreciate what the government did for me and give me the, like, a little bit of a taste of it, you know. So, wow. Right. I've steered a fucking warship. That's badass. I mean, like, not many people can say they've been behind the helm of a multi-billion-dollar destroyer. I think they cost billions. How much is that? 80. Oh. $6.7 billion. The cost to produce a DDG-51, which that wasn't the ship I was on. It just picked DDG-51 for some weird. What is DDG-51? Is that some new thing? Hold on. It's not some new class. Oh, no, yeah, it's the same class. Arleigh Burke class destroyer. That I was on. So I guess that was the first. I don't know why they 51, but oh wait, two ships cost 6.7 billion, so 3.2 billion roughly each. Yeah, because the one place says 2.5, one other place says 3.2 billion. So yeah, not everybody can say they steered a multi-billion-dollar warship here. So this little bitty steering wheel, dude. It'll be helm. It's like this big. It's like a frisbee. I'm just appreciative that I got to have the silk experiences like that. I lived in fucking Hawaii, dude. What? Dude. You thank me. Shit, I got to experience living in Hawaii. It never happen again. Might never even be in Hawaii ever again. San Diego, dude, the first time I ever flew was when I went to boot camp. They gave me that experience. Almost every time I've flown a lot, but almost every time it was, well, not counting the European trips. All my domestic flights, all, like most of them were military related. I usually drive. See the world. Yeah, dude, I'm getting mad hate for that. They banned me from the Navy subreddit. Oh, Russia launched an intercontinental ballistic missile.
The Ukrainian Air Force saying Russia has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile in the central eastern city of Dnipro. If true, this would be the first known use of these powerful nuclear-capable missiles. And this as the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has reopened following an urgent warning that Russia might launch a significant air attack on the capital city. Tensions remain high in the region after Ukraine used long-range British missiles
U.S. officials
and American-made
are
ballistic missiles to
disputing
strike
it, though.
territory for the first time. President Biden also expanding Ukraine's arsenal by
that's from
agreeing
8
to give
minutes
the
ago on
country
BBC.
anti-personnel landmines.
The landmines that we would look to provide them would be landmines that are not persistent. You know, we can control when they would self-activate, self-detonate, and that makes it far more safer eventually than the things that they are creating on their own.
John Elliott is the former Trump national security aide and author of the new book, The Biden-Harris Betrayal, Weak and Woke on the World Stage.
This fucking guy is trying to...
Good morning to you. So how
like
big of a deal is this news
softer,
that Ukraine is saying that Russia has fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time?
Well, Carly, good morning.
Give them the Greenpeace
mines.
mines.
It's true, just as you say.
They don't hurt trees when they blow up.
This would represent a major escalation by
Do they
Russia
kill less
in the
people,
war
sir?
against Ukraine.
Yes, they
And
do
this
kill less
follows on
people. They do kill less enemies. The shrapnel, it doesn't go as far. So is that way it doesn't hurt those trees next to it? You know, bunch of trees. Hey, come on. Like what? Fucker, we talking about we're giving them some nerfed up landmines. I get it. What happens is they self-destruct or some shit. That way they don't have a bunch of landmines laying around their territory after this is all said and done. But what to what cost? Are they still as good? Are they still as good as the other landmines? And could they still malfunction? Like, is it like the COVID shot? Like, it's supposed to help you not get COVID, but it doesn't really help you not. They could actually still blow up if you stomp on them hard enough. How do they work? How do they work? How do they not? Like an egg timer on it?
What the Biden administration did just the last couple days, they allowed for attacks directly, long-range attacks, somehow. 130, 190 miles, up to 190 miles into the territory of Russia that's never been authorized before. These are U.S. weapons that are now authorized to go directly against Russia. And then
kind of
also what Lloyd Austin was just saying there about anti-personnel mines, those have never been given over there, and those are very, very dangerous. Once again, that's a major escalation. So if true, this ICBM that was launched for the first time against Ukraine, this would mean a major escalation, really a response to the provocation that the Biden administration is doing in the last 2 months going in this administration. President Trump has said that he's going to ramp this war down. And suddenly, why are we provoking the Russians and then having a tit for tat? Meantime, there's more going on in Iran that we can talk about. But we're on the verge of World War III in 2 locations.
I can still do 3 pull-ups, by the way.
And it's coming in the last 2 months before President Trump gets in office, and this is outrageous.
Okay, so also Vladimir Putin just lowered the threshold for the country to be allowed to use nuclear weapons. Their current stance is essentially they could use nuclear weapons if they're attacked at any time. So where do you think all of this is going?
Well, once again, we're on the verge of World War III right now because Putin has said that there was a red line. He said that if we allow Ukraine to attack directly long-range missiles into Russian territory, then that was a red line, and that he threatened nuclear action as a result of that. And look, we also have the Iranians who are 1 month away from building several nuclear weapons right there. And so this is, once again, the instability that's brought about through the Biden-Harris weakness. We saw it in Afghanistan. There was a green light for Putin to go 2 years ago into Russia, 2.5 years ago now. And so this is something where Russia is right on the edge right now, and this is something that we need President Trump in office right away so that he can ramp down these conflicts and just bring peace to that region.
So, John, there are also those in the Republican Party who think that President Biden should have already done this, given Ukraine the ability to strike deep inside Russia from day one, give them everything they want. You could make the argument that that would be the peace through strength position. What about that?
Well, it's not the case because, once again, this is something where President Putin is ready to negotiate because he knows for a long time that this is a position that President Trump has had and that he will, as a deal maker, he's the art of the deal and he'll be able to push both sides together. But what this risks right now is something that can spiral out of control very quickly. We saw the use, if this is true, the report of the ICBM being used. That's the first time ever, and that shows that all you need to...
Oh, it's not true, dude. It's not true. They didn't use one.
Now, there are conflicting reports over an attack on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro overnight. Ukraine says it was targeted by a Russian intercontinental ballistic missile. There's been no independent verification of this. And CBS News in America is reporting that U.S. officials say it was a shorter range ballistic missile. There's been no comment from the Kremlin on this specifically.
Why does it matter if it's a long range or short range?
This type of weapon has been used in conflict.
Fucking confused.
The Ukrainian Air Force says Dnipro was also targeted by a hypersonic ballistic missile and 7 cruise missiles, 6 of which it said were shot down. The attack follows the U.S. decision to allow the use of long-range missiles to attack Russian territory. Moscow has repeatedly said the use of Western weapons to strike territory far from the border would be a major escalation of the conflict. Russia has also claimed it shot down 2 British-made Storm Shadow missiles. Well, let's speak now to our Eastern Europe correspondent, Sarah Rainsford, who's monitoring events for us from Warsaw.
Missiles.
Sarah, hello to you. And I want to get a sense, first of all, of reaction there in Poland and what you're hearing from sources there about what's been happening in Ukraine.
Yeah, there's no clarity as yet about what exactly the missile that was fired, or the controversial missile at least that was fired at Dnipro overnight actually was.
How is some random lady the fucking
a
expert on this shit? Get out of here. Who are you? And you're not even in Ukraine. You're not even... I'm in Warsaw, and here's my 2 cents on this. Atrocities have been committed. Pamela Hayden, the longtime voice actor behind Milhouse, Van Houten, Bart Simpson's very uncool friend, is stepping away after 35 years on The Simpsons. Hayden, now 70, who voiced Milhouse, Jimbo Jones, Rod Flanders, Janny, and Malibu Stacy, will take a final bow on November 24th in a Treehouse of Horror episode. It's been an honor and a joy to have worked on such a funny, witty, and groundbreaking show, Hayden said in a statement. Dude, she's 70 years old and she still looks like that? There's no way. Yo, you think that's real? You think she looks like that at 70? Dude, what the hell? How is that possible? I can't find any pictures of her looking super old. I think she does look like that. Oh no, this one's a little older looking. Oh, she did. Dude, that's wild. She must have been hot as shit back in the day. Let's see. Oh, that's her? I mean, she's probably like... I wonder how old she was there. Different picture of her. For 1953. You know you want it. First episode's the Christmas one, right? Well, they did. He did it.
House Speaker Mike Johnson announced a new rule on Capitol Hill. If transgender men and women are going to use single-sex bathrooms or locker rooms, they must use the one that is reserved for, as he said, their biological sex. CBS's Scott McFarland reports from the Hill.
U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson today took aim at Democrat Sarah McBride, the first ever transgender member elected to Congress, with his decision to bar transgender people from using those Capitol complex bathrooms that do not align with their sex assigned at birth.
But we have single-sex facilities for a reason.
McBride today said she didn't come to Washington to fight about bathrooms. South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace has led the charge to bar McBride from women's rooms here and does not acknowledge McBride is a woman.
We have rights as women, and we have the right not to be bombarded by men in our restrooms.
McBride spoke with CBS News Sunday morning in October.
And I can't believe I'm asking you this, but I'm going to. What bathrooms will you use when you're in the Capitol?
The bathrooms that I've used in the state Senate, the bathrooms that I use when I'm going out to dinner here in Wilmington, I'll continue to use the bathrooms that I've used for the last decade plus.
No, you won't.
And that's the ladies' room.
Hey, you're wrong.
President-elect
Oops.
Donald Trump attacked
That's
Democrats
hilarious.
for supporting transgender
Dude,
rights during the campaign.
I didn't know that they had the Speaker of the House had this much power that he can be like, hold up, use that restroom. How did that happen? Did they have to vote on it? Did the Congress all voted on it? Because they're not even Republican majority yet, are they? What just happened? Dude, she actually kind of looks like that one actually kind of looks like a female. So, does this have a penis though?
We won't be changing your children's gender with their transgender craziness.
Speaker Johnson has argued there are unisex bathrooms on the Capitol campus.
A man is a man and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman.
Democrats blasted Johnson's decision.
What we should be doing is getting things
There's
done for
unisex
American people.
bathrooms.
Instead, we're worried about who's using what toilet, and that's pretty ridiculous.
Let them use the unisex bathroom.
LGBTQ congressional staffers issued a statement calling the new rule a direct affront to trans people. Sarah McBride becomes the newest member of Congress from Delaware on January 3rd. Nora?
Scott McFarlane on the Hill
Right,
tonight.
I'm sure
Thank you,
everybody's
Scott.
stoked on that one. I am, just for the comedy relief. Like, hey, the tranny's talking. You know, wouldn't that be cool? They're allowed just one. If we have multiple trannies in Congress, though, then we got a problem, boys. Then they're taking over.
Two accused killers and another man suspected of sex crimes have been recently extradited back to the U.S.
12 News journalist Sean Rice explains how the fugitives were able to flee the country in the first place and the warning the U.S. Marshal now is issuing to other suspected criminals.
Hey, Trident.
You can run, but you cannot hide. It's a phrase you've likely heard before, but it's one that has never resonated more than this week for the United States Marshals here in Arizona. This past week, they successfully arrested multiple accused murderers and a man wanted for child sex crimes. All of them thought they could escape justice by fleeing the country.
You can see it on
I wonder
their
if she
face.
smells mama's saliva on that
It's
one.
relief. Van Bayless, U.S. Marshal for the District of Arizona, is able to provide for Arizona families. His marshals placed cuffs on 3 wanted fugitives accused of committing crimes in Phoenix, Tempe, and Gilbert. Court records say 61-year-old Randall Arrington cut off his ankle monitor, sold his house, and then fled to Mexico after being released on bond as he was awaiting trial on sex crimes charges. Last week, with the help of police in Mexico, Arrington was arrested by the marshals in Rocky Point with $350,000 on him.
The second that they eyeballed the badge, or they realized, that it was, law enforcement that knew who they were, the eyes go big and they're kind of shocked. How did that happen?
The marshals also helping bring 2 accused murderers back here to Arizona. Hector Batista, wanted by Phoenix police for a homicide back in 2003, and Jose Ortiz, accused of a gruesome robbery and murder in Tempe back in 2008.
Working with partner agencies that are in that country of where the fugitive is. Sometimes it can be quick. Sometimes it takes many, many years.
But no matter how long that extradition process can take, Bayless warns fleeing to any other country is not all it's cracked up to be. If you do, he says a group of fugitive hunters stationed all across the globe will soon be on your tail.
There's no benefit because the day is still coming. It's not maybe the hope of being able to get away, but it just simply does not happen.
Sean Rice, 12 News.
Yeah, nobody ever gets away. All right. Okay. Okay, buddy. Huh. Nobody ever. I said it and I meant it, boy. Wow. DOJ demands Google ditch Chrome.
Google parent Alphabet must sell its Chrome browser,
Wow.
share data and search results with rivals, and take other measures, possibly including selling the Android platform to end its monopoly on search platforms. That's the argument made by Department of Justice prosecutors on Wednesday as part of a landmark case that could reshape how users find information. The federal judge hearing the case has already deemed Google to hold an illegal monopoly on search and related advertising in the U.S. In a court filing on Wednesday, the DOJ and state antitrust enforcers wrote, quote, Google's unlawful behavior has deprived rivals not only of critical distribution channels, but also distribution partners, who could otherwise enable entry into these markets by competitors in new and innovative ways. In a statement on Thursday, Alphabet called the proposals staggering. Its chief legal officer wrote, quote, DOJ's approach would result in unprecedented government overreach that would harm American consumers, developers, and small businesses, and jeopardize America's global economic and technological leadership at precisely the moment it's needed most. Chrome is the world's most widely used web browser and is a pillar of Google's business. It provides user information that helps the company target ads more effectively and profitably. Prosecutors said Google has used Chrome and Android to preference its own search engine to the detriment of rivals, and prosecutors' proposals are wide-ranging. They include barring Google from re-entering the browser market for 5 years and insisting Google sell its Android mobile operating system if other remedies fail to restore competition. The DOJ also suggested ending exclusive agreements in which Google pays billions of dollars annually to Apple and other device makers to make its search engine the default on their tablets and smartphones. A 5-person technical committee appointed by the judge would enforce compliance under prosecutors' proposals. The filing shows this committee, which Google would pay for, would have the power to demand documents, interview employees, and delve into software code. U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta has scheduled a trial on the proposals for April, though President-elect Donald Trump and the DOJ's next antitrust head could step in and change course in the case.
That's cool. I don't know what's going on. Oh, it'll harm our communities.
And the Texas Land Commissioner is offering President-elect Trump 1,400 acres of state land to be used for deportation facilities. Meanwhile, the Colorado Attorney General is preparing to challenge Trump's mass deportation plan in court. Let's bring in Colorado Attorney General Philip Weiser for more on this. Phil, thank you for coming on.
Oh my God!
Trump says he plans to declare a national emergency.
Some of the coolest states, like as far as like weed laws, the ones that are like, because Colorado was the first state to legalize weed. It wasn't California. That's why I moved to Colorado. Well, partially one of the reasons I wanted to experience what it was like to live in the first state to legalize marijuana, and I did. And I moved back here, but like, why both California and Colorado are fucking stupid when it comes to this shit? Is that what weed does to people?
And use the military to enact deportation. So what do you expect that legal battle to look like?
California's second to legalize?
It's hard to know exactly what's coming.
Then I moved here and I witnessed what that was like.
The military has very limited role under law in terms of what type of activities it can conduct. We're going to make sure that we operate by the law. One of the big concerns I have is an idea that is core to who we are as Americans, due process of law. We're worried about citizens. We're worried about people's spouses, grandparents getting swept up in these indiscriminate raids. Here in Colorado, we believe in inclusion. We think about Aurora, which has been singled out as the Ellis Island of the West. We don't want to see this sort of disruptions being talked about. It's going to harm our workers, going to harm our families and our communities.
Now, what's your reaction to Texas offering state land to use for deportation facilities?
Texas can do what Texas wants, and obviously each state has its own sovereignty and decisions. In Colorado, we want to make sure that we honor what is core to America, an ideal of e pluribus unum. For many, we're one. And in Colorado, we do have a lot of people who've come here as immigrants. My family is an immigrant refugee story. My grandparents, my grandmother survived the Holocaust, were liberated by the U.S. Army, came to the United States, a land that welcomed them. That welcoming spirit is how we in Colorado operate. And it's really important that we not mistreat people who are vulnerable. And there are a lot of immigrants now who are scared. The Dreamers come to mind. This is a group of individuals who only know the United States of America as their home. And they're now rightfully concerned about what's going to happen. Our message is the same as it was in the first Trump administration. We've got your back. We went to the U.S. Supreme Court in the first Trump administration to defend the rights of the Dreamers, and we won. We're ready to do it again.
Now, Trump has pointed to Aurora, Colorado, in your state as an area he says is plagued by immigrant crime. He says gang members have overrun the city. The mayor of Aurora says those claims were exaggerated, but officials do say this Venezuelan gang is a problem. So what did happen in Aurora, and should undocumented immigrants be deported if they're convicted of violent crimes?
Under our law, it's very clear. When you commit violent crimes, deportation is a lawful and appropriate action. And anyone who's in a criminal justice system and can be deported, that's a appropriate and a regular step. But we just need to put this into context. The Aurora police chief talked about 10 members of this gang who have been under, again, criminal investigation in the criminal process. That's 10 people. It's important that we take all those claims seriously, we investigate them. But what is being talked about are mass deportations, indiscriminate. It's really important that we honor this idea of due process, which is everyone is going to be treated fairly.
Shut up. The fuck are you?
Transition co-chair Linda McMahon.
Look at this crazy shit, though.
Education secretary.
There's going to be a WWE CEO.
In Trump's first term as leader of the Small Business
Education Secretary.
She is a highly capable businesswoman. There is no doubt about that. Decades of experience. But she also did this in a former life. Here she is with Kane at the WWE. Now, these days, Kane, the scary wrestler you can see there, also known as Glenn Thomas Jacobs, is the mayor of Knox County, incredibly, and Linda McMahon is going to be education secretary. So it's quite an incredible time to be alive, Kosha.
You have to love it. This is, you know, the American government at its best is meant to be for the people, by the people, of the people, and this is that personified, where you've got somebody who's moved on to be, as you say, the mayor of a small town in Tennessee. She's now served twice, or will be serving twice in the administration. And the thing is, in the modern era, they understand that understanding media, how to wield media, and the value of entertainment is actually a really big asset in politics, because it is ultimately a communication job in large part. And the WWE franchise, she's the wife of the founder, obviously, Vince McMahon, they've turned this thing into a $7 billion franchise. It's one of the top things. So she's playing her part there, but I think fun times ahead.
Well, yeah, and she's often credited for being the brains behind that operation. It is a family-run business. Now, there's already talk within Democrat circles about who is going to be their candidate in 2028. Yes, they're trying to look ahead. They're very depressed about what's happening right now. And one name is leading the pack. It's Kamala Harris. This is according to fresh polling of Democrat voters. They want Kamala to run again in 2028. She's well ahead of Gavin Newsom, the California governor, Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor, Pete Buttigieg, I can't believe he's even in the running, he's hopeless. Kamala got 41% of those polled. The others were way behind with 8%, 7% and 6% respectively. If she's a candidate again, surely not. It's early days. But who do you see looking ahead? I would have thought, it may be a bit obvious, but Josh Shapiro and Gavin Newsom are highly electable, never mind the mess Gavin has made of California.
Yes, for sure. This, I think, is a statistical error. There's recency bias. There might be sympathy bias, something coloring those numbers. She's never won anything nationally, and other people who ran against Republicans and lost, like Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, exited the stage. So I don't see how she's going to rise like a phoenix. In terms of who would do it, I think the ones you mentioned are right. You know, Gavin Newsom, he's telegenic, he's good looking, he runs the biggest state. his positions are very radical, given he's been running California, so that's going to be a hurdle for him to get over. Josh Shapiro is actually very popular. He governs as a moderate. Some question whether he's actually a moderate, but he governs as one. Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, maybe, though she had that issue with the feeding the chips thing. Maybe that'll be the end of her.
And just her conduct and Newsom's during COVID. Like, she was an absolute tyrant and irrational. I remember she was locking up seed sections in markets where people couldn't buy seeds to plant, but then you could do all sorts of other things. It was just irrational and cruel, and I don't know if that's going to be forgotten. Maybe it will be.
It's just an important state, but I think you're right. And then Mark Kelly would be another name I'd throw in, the astronaut senator from Arizona as well. But lots of time to go until then.
Now, before you go, the illegal immigrant who murdered 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley in February, Jose Antonio Ibarra, has been sentenced in the last 24 hours. He will be in prison for life without the possibility of parole. This case, Kosha, was hugely important in the months leading up to the election. It really highlighted, in a single case, the madness of the Biden-Harris border crisis, the fact that there have literally been thousands of violent criminals who have been allowed to roam free in the US.
It has become a tragic but very powerful symbol of that catastrophe of an issue, and that was, among others, that was probably the biggest reason for the downfall of the Democrat Party writ large across the electorate, for sure. So some justice for the family because of this, but if you zoom out, it's meager justice, I would say, because the Justice Department failed with the whole thing. The fact that this person was allowed in here, taxpayer-funded flights are what led him from New York to Georgia, and then he did this. So it's a horrible day. Maybe with the deportation plans, even criminals that are in prisons can be deported so that the U.S. taxpayer isn't funding his life for the rest of time.
That is, and people are pointing to this case when the deportations start, and you're going to have a lot of sympathetic stories in the media of people being deported, and I think they're going to point to this case and say there's a reason this is happening, and of course good people will be caught up in it, but good people who broke the law by coming into the country illegally. Kosha Gator, thanks for your time tonight.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Dude, I just dumped a ton of salt in my oatmeal on accident. I thought it was on the grated part, but it was on the dump side. Well, hopefully it's going to taste alright. I don't have much left, so I went ahead and made it. Extra salty oatmeal. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's going to be delicious. Make it all taste delicious. Extra salty. Extra salty. Extra salty oatmeal. Oh. Extra salty. Oh. Extra salty. Oh. Extra salty. Oh. It really dumped it. It was probably like a freaking tablespoon of salt for my oatmeal. I think I'm gonna die. I get salt overload. It'll be delicious. Tablespoon of salt. Oh. It's gonna be delicious. Oh. Alex Jones sues Sandy Hook families. Oh. I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. Alright. No, come on there. Stay out there. He's fucking losing it. He needs to get calories in. He really wants the gate open though, for sure, but that's not gonna happen. Alright, buddy.
As we wait to hear more about the deportation plans from the incoming Trump administration, the Philippine ambassador to the U.S. is telling Filipino immigrants without status here to come back home. NBC4's Macalo Medina is live in Long Beach, where he spoke with members of the Filipino community today. Mac.
Yeah, Jonathan, a lot of those Filipinos came here to the Filipino Migrant Center in North Long Beach to figure out exactly what that means coming from the ambassador. They were shocked to hear it, many of them afraid of what to do next.
The Philippine ambassador should not have said those things because it causes unnecessary panic in our community.
Maybe you should say
says
it.
he was flooded with calls and walk-ins to the Migrant Center here in North Long Beach once Filipinos heard this from their ambassador.
My advice to them is to immediately leave voluntarily, because once you're deported, you can never come back to the United States.
Certainly blunt advice, but not entirely correct. Being caught without authorization in the U.S. brings a 10-year ban against returning legally. Still, the message was clear. Leave now before being caught up in President-elect Trump's mass deportation threats.
My advice is for them not to wait to be deported.
There are about 4 million Filipinos in the U.S., and our estimate is that 1 in 4 is undocumented.
That's between 200 and 300,000 Filipinos. And many have been in the U.S. for decades with mixed status families.
Why aren't they fucking documented yet?
After she heard that from the ambassador.
Decades.
She's been here in West Long Beach for over 30 years. She's really
why is she getting no fucking
here, and this is her home.
Bro,
and so she was wondering if she's going to get deported or not.
What many fear the most is family separation. The Migrant Center held a Know Your Rights session Monday, advising immigrants of legal options and their rights if they engage with ICE officers, preparing them for the possibility of deportation, how to keep families informed, safe, and most importantly, how to keep them together.
People are afraid.
Yeah, people are afraid, not just here in the Filipino undocumented community, but a lot of migrant communities all across Southern California. We still do not know exactly what the incoming administration will do when it comes.
Dude.
Is legal with. Pay attention, this is located in Japan. The Japanese person in front of you is holding the famous bear paw. This unique type of meat is banned in many countries. But in Japan, you can find such fresh bear paws in any slightly larger chain supermarket.
What?
According to the label, this bear paw weighs about 2 pounds. It can be preserved for a whole year when frozen. The local people's cooking techniques for bear paws mainly come from the methods of our ancient classical dishes. First, the bear paw is boiled in hot water for about 5 minutes. Then, it can be quickly pulled out and deherred. This thing is not just any ordinary meat. The entire deherring process must use a special tool to clean the bear hair bit by bit. After a series of crazy operations by the Japanese, the bear paw is roughly processed. However, there are still many fine hairs in the gaps or on the surface of the bear paw. So next, the Japanese will use a blowtorch to carefully burn every inch of the bear paw. According to the methods of our classical dishes, using fire to burn off the hair is the best way. After the tedious deherring process, the Japanese will put the bear paw back into the pot and add some green onions and a small amount of ginger slices to remove the bear paw's odor. After an hour of pressure cooking, the bear paw can be taken out and prepared for detailed bone removal. The reason why the Japanese do not prohibit the use of bear paws is fundamentally due to their abundant local resources. Don't think that Japan is just a small island country. In fact, a large number of black bears live in the northern regions of Japan.
Under the claw.
Although the use of bear meat is legal within their territory, the behavior of using bear paws is still supervised by the local government. To taste the unique texture of bear paws, the rough outer skin of the bear paw must be removed. Whether in ancient times or in modern myths, many people say that the left paw of the bear is tastier than the right paw. The reason is that bears use their left paw to eat honey. As for whether the statement is accurate, we really cannot tell. After all, fish and bear paws cannot be compared. In real life, it is not an easy task. Even the local Japanese people cannot afford the high price of bear paws. Next, the Japanese will put the processed bear paws into a special broth. It is said that this broth uses more than 30 kinds of ingredients, including some precious ingredients or meats. After simmering on low heat for an hour and a half, the bear paws can be taken out and prepared for cutting. From the appearance after cooking, it indeed has the style of the legendary bear paw dish. After adding some broth, the texture and taste are elevated to a higher level. From the state of cutting the bear paw, it feels very tender. To be honest, it is somewhat similar to the common braised pork. As for whether the taste is as legendary as it is said to be, that is not something an ordinary person can reveal. However, in the eyes of wealthy Japanese people, it is just like cutting and eating a top-grade steak.
It looks fucking disgusting. Oh, fatty and gristly, and I don't know, it just didn't look like it had a very much good meat on it. What's that? Right there. You just want to stand right there, huh? Right there. Right there. You're just gonna. I'll wait on you, Simon. Thanks, bud.
What killed the rotary engine? These crazy cool engines have...
Oh man, it was gonna pop out. I decided not to.
What killed the rotary engine? These crazy cool engines have struggled to compete with piston cylinder engines, despite their many benefits and overall simplicity. But the flaws are real. Wankel engines have a long, growing combustion chamber as the rotor spins, making complete combustion difficult, though this could mean some exciting flames out the exhaust. They're also difficult to seal, and since you have multiple chambers at different stages of combustion, proper seals between chambers is critical. To help with sealing and lubrication, oil is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber. So yeah, these things quite literally drink oil. All of this results in an inefficient engine with terrible emissions, something I can relate to thanks to a poor diet. Combining all these negative factors means the triangle engine's future is bleak, but fear not. Mazda heard the sorrows of enthusiasts across the globe and brought back the rotary inside the MX-30. Oh dear. What killed the rotary engine? These crazy cool engines have struggled
to... a freaking SUV? Stupid. A little bit stupid if you had... They should have put it in a sports car. Happened earlier.
From the boost, initiating the launch sequence. Ignition. Second umbilical retracting. Soyuz running up to full power, and we have liftoff. Liftoff. The 90-second progress. crisp resupply ship. It has cleared the tower as it lights up the evening sky in Baikonur on its way to the International Space Station. Control parameters nominal as the first stage propels. Structural parameters. You are seeing underway on the.
This is over in Kazakhstan. The time now 7 few. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back.
After these messages, be right back.
A nuclear weapon exploded over Los Angeles.
Oh.
A nuclear weapon exploded over Los Angeles, and the city that everyone loves for its warm climate and beaches no longer exists. In this documentary, we explore the devastating effects of this catastrophe. Russia may consider Los Angeles as a target because of its key importance in the U.S. aerospace and defense industry, as well as the strategically important military facilities and infrastructure located in the region. When it explodes, the fireball, hot as the sun, rapidly expands to a radius of 0.59 miles. Anything caught in this fireball is instantly vaporized. In our model, the epicenter of the explosion is centered in the financial district. People in this radius won't even feel anything. Jewelry District, Gallery Row, Skid Row, those areas would disappear in a second. Within a 4-mile radius of the epicenter, that's the blast radius. Huntington Park, Jefferson, Silver Lake, Surface Park, El Sereno. These neighborhoods will suffer the most damage. Buildings will be destroyed and debris will litter the streets, creating dangerous conditions for anyone in the vicinity. Given the population density of downtown Los Angeles, the initial death toll could exceed 250,000 and the injured could be around 600,000. Within a 7-mile radius, radiation will cause third-degree burns. Anything flammable within that radius will ignite. Gas stations, cars, electrical substations, gas infrastructure. Explosive devices detonate, intensifying the devastation over a huge area, including neighborhoods from Southgate and Inglewood to Glendale North. The fire will affect West Hollywoods, Beverly Hills, Alhambra, Montebello. According to various estimates, another 150,000 people will die from burns, shrapnel, or radiation sickness.
It's like Long Beach is safe.
700,000 will be injured. Within an 11-mile radius of the blast site, the shockwave would be powerful enough to shatter windows, causing casualties from glass shards and cuts from the shockwave. The shockwave would reach Santa Monica, Norwalk, El Monte, and Burbank.
Oh shit.
Let's now turn on simulation mode and see what happens if Russia launches nuclear missiles. In the beginning, the number of casualties will increase exponentially. They will be victims of direct destruction and radioactive burns. The estimated death toll will be about 93 million people and about 105 million injured. After the major devastation has occurred, the second equally terrifying phase, radioactive fallout, will begin. Radiation will spread over a wide area, affecting people, animals, and the environment. The estimated death toll of this stage is about 42 million people. This was a 3D visualizer channel. Subscribe if you want to see more simulations and let our planet live in peace and love.
Oh, bear sausage. Yeah, it could have been seasoned with sausage, huh? You don't believe what? They would ever do that? What are you meowing at? Here. Here. Is it medicine time almost? Guess I can go and give it to him now. Yeah, I'll go get that. He didn't eat much breakfast. Simon has been killed.
Louisiana's plan to have the 10 Commandments posted in public schools is on hold for now. A judge rejected the state's request, but the court battle will continue. Arguments in the case are scheduled for January 23rd. I want to bring in CBS News reporter Katie Weiss for more on this. Katie, what is the state of Louisiana arguing in this case?
Well, Vlad, good morning. The Louisiana Attorney General's office has really maintained that this shouldn't be a controversial issue, that instead the 10 Commandments are an important historical document for our nation's legal system. And
oh shit, dude, look at this. This is breaking news.
Know what the House at
special report.
We are coming on the air because former Congressman Matt Gaetz is withdrawing his consideration for Attorney General. He posted on X saying as much amid concerns about sexual misconduct allegations and also concerns about his limited legal experience. I want to go to our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, who's on the phone right now. John, what do you make of Gaetz now issuing this message after so much from President-elect Trump and Gaetz himself saying that he was going forward until this confirmation process?
On one level, it's not surprising, Diane. Gaetz was facing a very steep uphill climb. A number of Republican senators, and remember, they were only going to get Republican senators, but they have a 53-seat majority. They could only afford to lose 4. They weren't going to get a single Democrat. And a number of Republican senators had publicly been expressing deep skepticism and concern about the Gaetz nomination. I am told that privately, several of them were even more direct with the Trump transition team, saying that there was simply no way that they would vote to confirm Gaetz. So you had a situation where Gaetz, with all of the controversy swirling around his nomination, was simply not going to get the votes to be confirmed. That clearly is a driving factor in this rather stunning dropout. And I say not surprising on one level, stunning on another level, because what the Trump team had been signaling is that they were going to push for this. They were going to fight for this. They were going to make Republican senators unwilling to vote for Gaetz pay if they dared, cross the president-elect, who they believe has a mandate to get the cabinet of his choice. So, in that sense, this is a very abrupt reversal from where they were just a few hours ago.
And I want to bring in our Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, because, Jay, this comes a day after the House Ethics Committee couldn't agree on whether or not to release a report, an investigation that they've been doing into Gaetz before he resigned from Congress. How much was that an indication of the challenge he was going to face trying to get confirmed by the Senate?
Well, it was a demonstration, Diane, of how rocky of a confirmation process this could have been for Matt Gaetz, because we knew from Senate Republicans that regardless of what the House Ethics Committee decided to do in terms of publicly releasing that report, they wanted to know what the House Ethics Committee and the Department of Justice, which also investigated these allegations and declined to bring criminal charges, uncovered over the course of their investigations. And senators had said they had already requested Democrats in the Senate what the FBI uncovered into Matt Gaetz. They were positioning themselves to see what the House Ethics Committee uncovered into Matt Gaetz. And so there were senators who wanted to know exactly what was found into Matt Gaetz, which sources told us was a woman telling the committee that when she was 17 years old and in high school, and Matt Gaetz was a sitting member of Congress in 2017, that he had sex with her. Women telling the committee, according to their attorney, that they witnessed Matt Gaetz having sex with a minor, that he paid them for sex through Venmo records, which ABC News also obtained. Point being, what we saw dripping out of that Ethics Committee investigation clearly demonstrated to senators that this was going to be an uphill battle for Matt Gaetz. And there were some senators who wanted Gaetz to go through this fight. Lindsey Graham said yesterday, after he met with Gaetz right up here on Capitol Hill, that Matt Gaetz should have a confirmation hearing and have the chance, in Lindsey Graham's words, to quote unquote confront his accusers. But Matt Gaetz now dropping out of this process. The results of that House investigation now remaining in limbo as to whether or not they will ever see the light of day, and certainly no Senate confirmation hearing in Matt Gaetz's future, Diane.
And John, there was a lot of backlash against this nomination from the start, not only because of those allegations, but also because of Gaetz's limited legal experience. So where does that put the Trump transition team now? Who will they name if it's not Gaetz?
Yeah, one Republican Senator, Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, said that he didn't know that Gaetz was an attorney until he was announced as the candidate for Attorney General. So, yes, his experience and his approach to the Justice Department was a big part of this, as were the allegation. In terms of what comes next, Trump interviewed several candidates for Attorney General. He can certainly go back to that list. But here's what I would look for, Diane. As Gaetz was announced, he also announced his choice for Deputy Attorney General. That is Todd Blanche, who is his lead defense counsel on a number of his cases, most prominently the New York hush money case. Todd Blanche became the personal lawyer to Donald Trump. He is a former prosecutor. He is widely respected, and he is somebody that clearly has the trust of Donald Trump. I would look to whether or not he would consider elevating Blanche, who he's already chosen and already announced as the Deputy Attorney General nominee, to be the nominee for Attorney General.
And we know that Gates could opt to retake his seat when the congressional session resumes in January. We'll be waiting to watch more on all of that. John Carl, Jay O'Brien, thank you both. And our coverage continues on ABC News Live and on abcnews.com. I'll be back. Also, David Muir will have more tonight on World News Tonight, and I will be back on ABC News Live right after this break. Right now, we'll return you to your regular programming. Have a great day.
Actually, just yesterday, the appeals court here in New Orleans decided that, well, they should be holding up the lower court's ruling from a couple of weeks ago that says that the law should not go into effect. They're saying that it should be not going into effect until the appeals court has a chance to hear all oral arguments in the case, which is not going to happen until January. But the AG maintains that the law will only apply, though, to the 5 school districts, or the ruling, rather, will only apply to the 5 school districts that are mentioned in the lawsuit. She even provided a written statement to us that says that there are more than 60 school boards that are not subject to the ruling of the court, and we look forward to continuing to defend this clearly constitutional law. Vlad?
So a final vote, as you indicated, will be held in Texas tomorrow to include a Bible-infused curriculum for kindergarten through 5th grade. So what's going on over in Texas?
Well, Vlad, as you can see, it really seems to be a trend right now among some red states to try to pass policies and laws that are more religious-based. In Texas, if these proposed changes were to pass, it would essentially make it optional for public schools across the state to implement this Bible-based curriculum in kindergarten through 5th grade. And as far as whether or not it could pass tomorrow, we're hearing that there is some support for it, and there's a pretty good chance that it could pass. But of course, that remains to be seen. We'll, of course, let you all know what happens. Vlad?
All right, Katie Weiss for us this morning. Thank you, Katie.
Bear sausage. Boy. Yeah.
We've now seen some 13 and a half months of open warfare between Israel, Hamas, and Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and other Iranian-backed parties in the region. That has now evolved into open lawfare, with this very important court issuing arrest warrants against the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Those are arrest warrants that are actually binding on more than 120 countries that are signatories to the treaty that underpins that court's conduct. Israel is not a signatory, neither is the United States. Israel had sought, however, to contest this request for the arrest warrants. That failed, as we discovered today, with the court saying it had rejected the Israeli motions and upheld and actually decided to issue those arrest warrants as sought by the special prosecutor.
Has the United States made any statement on this matter? Because the support for Israel, generally quite strong in the United States.
Indeed, and throughout these proceedings, we're talking about several months of anticipation. I believe the special prosecutor formally filed his request for arrest warrants back in late May. The Biden administration said openly that it thought this was baseless. Israel has obviously been far more vociferous, calling this anti-Semitic, likening it to the infamous Dreyfus trial. I think both countries will be looking to what the next U.S. administration, the Trump administration, will do, and significant parties in that administration are already saying that when the time comes, they will double down on their support for Israel. The question is, what does that mean? Are they going to try to convince like-minded countries in Western Europe to withdraw from the courts, or on an individual level to state that they will not abide, they will not honor these arrest warrants? As I said, it's dramatic development, and I think the Israelis will be strategizing very, very intensely right now.
Why historically has Israel and the United States not been a party to this court?
I think it comes down to a fear for their autonomy. Also, the fact that certainly since the war on terror, the United States has been waging at times quite unilateral national security policies abroad, wars that did not always have international support. I think the argument is that this would effectively intrude on self-determination, self-defense, the sovereign rights of a country. And also they would argue that this court is designed to bring justice to countries where there is no working internal, organic justice system. Now, Israel says its justice system works perfectly fine. It's had the support of some Western countries for that, but it seems that the ICC has decided not to fight in favor of that point of view this time. So in effect, Israel, or at least these two leaders, will be treated like pariahs in many of the countries that are required to abide by it. It's a development that I think Netanyahu will find very, very unwelcome.
So yesterday down in Athens, Georgia, the judge took 20 minutes to sentence, to find in the United States of America, Jose Ibarra guilty, and then to sentence him. This all happened so quickly. He murdered Laken Riley back in February, and then this case is already tried. He's already sentenced. It happened very quickly. Yesterday was very emotional. Laken's stepfather, her father, her mother, her sister, I believe that's her sister in the striped sweatshirt or sweater, her best friends, they all spoke, and they were talking about how chilling it is to be in the same room with the guy who took their sister, their loved one's life. And as a mother to a little girl, I cannot imagine how Laken's mom feels. She told the court, she told Ibarra, you took away my best friend. And she talked about the fear that her daughter must have felt and that her daughter died alone. Listen to this.
There is no end to the pain, suffering, and loss that we have experienced or will continue to endure. My precious daughter was attacked, beaten, and shown no mercy. She fought for her life and dignity and to save herself from being brutally raped. This sick, twisted, and evil coward showed no regard for Laken.
I don't care about this part. I saw it yesterday.
And had no remorse.
The fucking news always does this shit, man. It's a 6-minute, 40-second long thing. The title of it is Trump declares justice for Laken Riley. Like, that's all I want to see is what the fuck Trump's gonna say. They're making me rewatch this shit. I don't want to rewatch this shit.
There, that there's no regret there. It seems like we're bothering him by marginalizing.
I don't need them tell me about any of that. I just want to.
Phillips and Judge, we know that. Marty and the girls and I live
What's
in
gonna
Athens,
happen to this
Georgia.
fucker
We
now?
know the judge. We know the deputy that was standing right there in the courtroom. We know the Phillips and Riley families. Our daughter's a senior at the University of Georgia, and I mean, even when I was on campus, both Marty and I have been in the area where Lakin lost her life. I can't tell you how many times. It is a bittersweet day. This is a tragic event, as you and your colleagues have been saying, never should have happened. But it did because of bad policies of this administration, which is quite honestly outrageous. But I am thankful that justice was swift here and the judge moved so quickly.
One thing I think that people are missing with this case is Trident, which is reportedly he's a part of, they work within the prison system. So we're putting them in prison to go back to people that are operating within the prison. This is like a gift for him. This is why they need to evaluate the death penalty. Are y'all gonna have them in isolation? Yeah. What's gonna happen? Because you may be turning him into the criminal enterprise where he can still invoke harm. They communicate on the outside. We know they're here. So I just don't understand the logic behind this. I know they want to reimagine the justice system, but that makes zero sense to me.
Well, I also think it's also important to understand that there was one president that called, that got in touch with
Lakin's family.
With Lakin's family, and there's one that put out on Truth Social his feelings
finally
about
talking
the
about
conviction and the sadness he feels.
We're 4 minutes and 30 seconds into the thing, and they're finally talking about what the title is saying.
Feels for the family as Donald Trump. You still don't have the Biden administration even responding to this. But how about tone deafness? Yesterday, they launched a new ICE app allowing illegals beginning in December to bypass in-person check-ins, making it harder to track them. And with the check-in, you don't have to give up your background. You don't have to talk about if you have any outstanding warrants. They have no way of checking if there's a warrant out for your arrest. And 100,000 migrants are immediately rolled in the first wave of the program.
All kinds of shit's happening right now.
There's 58,000 illegals living in New York City. So he, to the end, is for the illegal immigrant. That's his policy, whether he knows it or not.
You know what? And being from the South, like this whole East Coast, this is my world. These are my people. And this is New York was always our Mecca when we grew up down South. If you got a chance to go to New York, it was so fun to just go and see the lights in a show, maybe. So to know that this guy was right over here at the Roosevelt Hotel, and then he left there and we paid for him to take a flight down to another beloved area, which is Georgia, and live near the campus, which is such an awesome campus in Athens. UGA, when we would go there, when Carolina would play, we would have so much fun in Athens. This guy lived there, and we were paying for him and his brother, and they're a part of this gang. And he goes into this park that looks like a beautiful park, and he attacks this girl who's running like we all do, or we all walk in the park and exercise. It could have happened in Central Park, could happen in this gorgeous park, and he pulls her aside, and he thinks because he wants to sleep with her and brutally attack her and please himself that he can just throw her on the ground and brutally attack her and try to have his way with her and then bash her head in with a rock. This guy's here illegal. And all these governors that are from Democratic cities, and they say, oh, well, it happens sometimes and get over it and we're going to be a sanctuary city. This could happen to your daughter, too. 100%. This could be your child and your life could change forever like Lakin Riley's family. Well, they'll never be the same.
Well, Governor Healy, and that's why Tom Homan was on last night. Governor Healy said,
sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Yo, but check this out. Yo.
The Illinois Supreme Court has just overturned, remember him, actor Jussie Smollett, the conviction that he had for orchestrating a hate crime hoax in 2019 that burned resources in his city, in Chicago, did all sorts of things, and it was all a lie. Well, Smollett was convicted in 2021 on 5 counts, sentenced to 150 days in jail, released after only 6 days behind bars while he appealed his case. Smollett's attorney said in a statement this was not a prosecution based on facts. Rather, it was a vindictive persecution, and such a proceeding has no place in our criminal justice system. Ultimately, we are pleased that the rule of law was the big winner today. We are thankful to the Illinois Supreme Court for restoring order to Illinois' criminal law jurisprudence. Carrie Urban is with me now, Fox News legal editor. So what happened today, and what does this mean for Smollett?
Well, the conviction was dismissed on procedural grounds, and it's a pretty significant decision by the Illinois Supreme Court. I'll get to that in a minute, Harris, but first I just want to talk for a moment about my personal experience with this case. I was at the Department of Justice at the time when the Jussie Smollett story blew up, and I was head of communications, and I was getting tremendous pressure from folks on the outside to announce that the department was going to open a hate crimes investigation. Now, of course, that decision had not yet been made, but I was getting bombarded with that question. And the local people we were working with at the time and the FBI were getting a lot of those questions as well. They wanted to be able to say that that's what they were going to take a look at.
I'm going to make breakfast because Simon's just starting to bug me a bunch because he can smell that I'm cooking breakfast.
About the facts as I was watching them like everybody else on air. And I thought, you know what? Let's take a step back. Let's take a deep breath. Let's wait 24 hours because there's something about this that is not adding up. And as it turned out, that was in fact the case. He made these allegations up that he had been attacked, and we all know the story. Today, the state Supreme Court, and I'm just reading through the decision as we speak, so I'm not quite finished with it yet, so I can only give a top-line overview of it. They were considering whether a dismissal of the case by a null pros allows the state to bring a second prosecution. What does that mean? So there's something that a defendant can work out with a state prosecutor and it's basically an agreement that the state will make with someone to not prosecute them. It's not an acquittal, it's just a deal. So this deal was made initially with Jussie Smollett. The state came back in various ways and effectively prosecuted him again. And so the question before this court was, is that fair? Is that a violation of due process? Because he held up his end of the bargain. This was the agreement we made with him. And today the Illinois Supreme Court said this isn't going to work. It's a violation of his due process, and we therefore reverse his conviction overall. So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So Carrie, just real quickly, does this mean that we are then to believe that he was lying and he gets away with it, and all those burned taxpayer dollars and both on the case and those people who were looking for, what he said were the two people who went after him, and hate crime was tossed around? Did they go after him because he was black? Well, the alleged perpetrators were black, and none of what he said was true. So does he just get away with it, or does this conviction mean what he said was true? I mean, does that judge now believe that this man was attacked in some sort of hate crime by black men?
I think this case, again, is really about the deal that was worked out on the front end. And they're saying that you can't make a deal and say you're not going to prosecute someone and then turn around and prosecute them. And that's the heart of this decision. And because of that, the conviction has been overturned. But I don't think obviously, that's a very separate issue than what you're getting to, which is him lying, him doing all of these shenanigans. Well, we all know what actually happened.
Yeah, so what you're describing is a legal maneuver that was played early and now has come to fruition his defense, versus what I'm talking about, the truth.
That's right. That's right.
So that doesn't change the truth that he lied. Wow, Carrie, I'm glad you're here. I know you're just making your way through it.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
Organizations, small amount. These are the buses when they're leaving. So you got more than 3,000 per week. That's 12,000 a month. And that has been continuously happening for Alejandro Mayorkas salary. But that's what they're saying. Plus add the one migrants by the hundreds of thousands of experience to talk. So I will start with this video. So this caravan, again, the bottleneck at the south border of Tapachula showed again. This is actual video of our cameraman, Manuel de Jesus. that he has welcomed me all these caravans, him himself. So we're talking about 1,500 migrants, majority of them men, majority of them military age males. You have families, you have kids, you have women, like I have always said. They have women, they have children, but the majority of them are males. Entities, Central and South America, you have also people from Venezuela, and you have people from Haiti, people from Africa. But you have a lot of people from Honduras, a lot of people from Guatemala, a lot of people from Nicaragua. You have people also from Bolivia. You have a lot of entities of Central and South America. These are 1,500 that they left yesterday. And ultimately, they left because they know that there's not a big possibility of them being allowed after the 20th of January. They're not going to be allowed to enter non-port of entries, to enter to an open border gaps, to enter to these particular places. Why? The reason why it is just as simple as it is. If they are allowed to come in, which means that the policies of Donald Trump and his ideals will be failing. So it is going to be the contrast of how they are not going to be allowed to enter to non-ports of entry. And, particularly, I believe that Donald Trump is going to get out of the global compact on migration, stop the federal grants and funding to these NGOs that they have been profiting out of human misery, and stop and put the threat of a tariff to Mexico, to dismantle these caravans and to stop these caravans for continuing, to be a regularized conduct, to be something that is normalized for people to be walking for kilometers and kilometers, putting their lives at risk. Now, I was yesterday with the great Grant Stinchfield in our network, Real America's Voice News. I was doing a hit with him, and he was commentating, Oscar, what happened? Mexico was dismantling. And I said, yes, but I also told you, there's this other effect that I told you, that migrants are going to try to make a run for it. And this is unstoppable. Whether you put thousands of National Guards, whether you do this, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of migrants that are trying to make a run for it. And this is the quantities. It is just exacerbated. You have the CBP-1 app was moved to the south border of Tapachula, Chiapas. You have arrival of migrants per week that they already been admissible to the United States under the CBP-1 app, 3,000 per week. Now you know that it's going to be around 12,000 max per month that they're leaving under the CBP-1 app, under the application that they already been approved in the south border of Tapachula. So these are the amounts that they already been approved to enter to a port of entry into the United States, a pedestrian port of entry, to present themselves in a pedestrian port of entry, enter the United States of America under the CBP-1 app, and then be released to population. 12,000 a month, around 12,000, that's what they're saying. Plus add the ones that they're waiting on the CBP-1 app under central states of the country of Mexico, that is between 25 to 35,000. Plus add the ones that they're speculating that they're waiting in the north borders, that is between 15 to 25,000. You have thousands of people that they're waiting. And this conduct was normalized by the Democrats, by the Biden administration. Why? Because everybody thought and everybody was thinking, if I cross illegally through a non-port of entry, I can go into the United States of America. If I can swim across into the Rio Grande River, I am going to be admissible. If I have to walk for kilometers in the desert of Arizona and put my life at risk, I am going to be admissible. If I jump a wall and I just claim and lift my hands and claim asylum, I will be admissible to enter. This is a violation to enter illegally and irregularly to another country. And this is a conduct that has been normalized by this administration. It has a conduct that has been normalized and has been glorified by the Democrats and these progressive liberals to make everybody understand Latin America that it's okay to migrate through a jungle, that it's okay to migrate through a mountain, that it's okay to migrate behind in traffic in the back of the tractor trailer, that it's okay to migrate and possibly be abused, possibly be raped in the jungle in the Darien Gap, which we have been multiple times, possibly be, kidnapped by the cartel in the inside of the Darien Gap, possibly be extortion, possibly be kidnapped in Central and South America, possibly die between the limitations between Mexico and Guatemala, and that limitation where the organized crime and the cartel has completely taken over that border, possibly, have to pay the cartel and extortion in the country of Mexico to transport yourself from the south border all the way to the north borders. And then again, you have to deal with the cartel to get across into the United States of America to a non-port of entry and an open border gap. All these obstacles, they have been normalized, and this conduct has been normalized by the Democrats, by the globalists, by the UN, by the OIMs, by the UNHCRs, by all these people that they say, we are humanitarian, we're against all of this, but you are not educating the people not to do this, not to go through this, and you're normalizing this conduct to continue, caravans. Now, 1,500 migrants, 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 1,500 A lot of people are getting scared. Why they're coming, Oscar? Why a lot of people are coming? Well, you know, it's a reality. They're going to try to make a run for it, and it's not making a run for it like saying they're going to rush the border. No, they're going to try to make it with the CBP1 app. They're going to try, and I will put a statistic that is staggering and that is crazy. You guys are going to go crazy, and I will contest what this network it is saying about immigration, because a lot of the people that they put on these high quality networks, they don't even know the hell what they're talking about immigration. They never been in a caravan. They never been in the Darien Gap. They never been in Central and South America. And also, they never been in the epicenters that is from Mexico all the way down. So a lot of these people, they do not know what it is, the reality and what is actually happening. So I was with Grant Sensual. We talked about this. And what is going to happen is that this massive flow, it is going to continue. It is not going to stop. It is going to continue until Donald Trump becomes president, and there's some action. Now, I have said this multiple times. There needs to be a consequence, and not a consequence for migrants, because migrants, it's not the fault of them. They're telling them it's open. They're telling them come. They're telling them, you can go in through non-ports of entry. This is the bad policies of the Biden administration, Mayorkas and Kamala Harris, that they have taken over and hijacked a humanitarian necessity into a political agenda. Now, what is going to happen in the next incoming months, a lot of the migrants are going to make a run for it, and they're going to try to get in before the next administration comes in. Now, the Trump effect, this is the Trump effect. A lot of people know this is the reality. It is sinking in. That a lot of people know that they are not going to have the same possibilities that it was under Biden. So a lot of people are now in the United States of America, migrants that they know that they cross illegally, that they cross illicitly, that they're not a case of asylum and refugee. They're preoccupied. And I can tell you this by a fact. It's factual information. They are preoccupied because they know that their case of asylum and refugee, it is false. And they are not asylum and refugee status. They are economical migrants. These economical migrants, they do not qualify to enter the country through a non-port of entry, ultimately under the claim asylum and refugee, and lastly, to be qualified under that status. That status, it is an economical migrant. You have a process for that. You have a process that you have to apply for a work visa, and it takes time and it takes effort. And you have people that they have been waiting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years to have a green card. And you got a lot of people that they're fast forwarding to say I'm asylum and refugee, but they're actually economical migrants. This is the Trump effect. A lot of the countries in Central and South America and the world, because we have seen migrants. I have seen migrants from all parts of. I have walked with all kinds of migrants, man, from all parts of the world, The Trump effect that is now they're realizing that this is going to be a reality, that it is not going to continue. The cartel already is realizing that they're going to have a great obstacle, and it's called Donald Trump. The obstacle it is going to be that they're going to start deporting. They're going to start returning. It's going to be a massive deportation, and inevitably it is going to be a domino effect that is going to land by Mexico, Central America, South America, and then the trafficking from the extracontinental migrants from Asia moving into Turkey, from Turkey, Ecuador, and all this kind of stuff. That market, inevitably, it is going to decrease and it's going to slow down. They're milking the cow. It is going to stop. And this is the Trump effect. A lot of the people are worried, so they're trying to make a run for it. It's a reality. Yes, it is a reality, and you actually can see it. A lot of people are getting upset like, hey, yeah, they're going to get deported. It's your opinion. They're trying to make it before Donald Trump becomes president. This is before the 20th of January. Donald Trump is not president yet. The one that is president still, it is Joe Biden that is launching, that is authorizing to launch missiles from Ukraine all the way to Russia, trying to cause a war and trying to basically give a big problem to Donald Trump so he can deal with it. It's a man, what a warmonger, what a disaster this president is, man. He's a complete disaster. I don't even know how Democrats can live with themselves, man, because they're saying, oh, this mass deportation is going to be completely inhuman. You're the inhuman, because under the 4 years of Joe Biden, I walked 11 caravans on the south of the border. 11. You got to be kidding me. Out of the 12 that I have walked 11 caravans. 11 caravans I have walked. Under the 11 caravans that I have walked, 4 times I have been in the Darien Gap under your administration and Joe Biden, and you have, because of your open border policies and your incentivization of all of this, a lot of people have died. And I'm talking about thousands of people Thousands of people have died, being trafficked in the back of a tractor trailer, dying in the middle of a river, dying drowning, dying in a jungle, dying of exhaustion, dying of dehydration, kids dying. It's who it is going to be accountable for this. And this is the next step that I have been saying. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be consequences. So these politicians will never do it again. This is what it needs to happen immediately. Donald Trump, when he comes into office, there needs to be accountability for Alejandro Mayorkas. There needs to be accountability for Kamala Harris. There needs to be accountability for Joe Biden. There needs to be accountability for all these progressive, mercenary, activist liberals and all these Congress liberals, progressive liberals that they have been targeting and saying that this is okay, that this is okay to my. There needs to be accountability for Rashida Tlaib. There needs to be accountability for Ilhan Omar. There needs to be accountability for Gavin Newsom, accountability for Veronica Escobar, accountability for Chuck Schumer, accountability for Jerry Nadler, accountability for all of this, accountability for Joy Reid from MSNBC, accountability for Joe Scarborough from MSNBC, accountability for all of them. Accountability for the NGOs that they have been profiting and making millions out of this human misery and their tax return in more than $5 million. There needs to be accountability for all of this. Cut the federal grants of these NGOs. It's time to save people, save lives. This is incentivizing the cartel to grow. And it is going to be extremely difficult to decrease the power of the cartel because on these 4 years of Joe Biden, they have been making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And not even saying millions, they have been making billions. And if there's not an example that needs to be held of accountability and consequence, they are going to continue. Now, also accountability for George Soros, accountability for Alex Soros. That they're the ones that they are part of this. The global compact on migration that was created. And this is because all these proxies and NGOs have a lot of power because of international law. There needs to be accountability for that. Like the assassin.
Bro,
the
there's
animal,
so much
and
salt.
I don't even want to criticize animals because this is not even an animal.
It's horrible.
The inhuman.
You have to drink water.
The piece of whatever you want to call it. Jose Ibarra, the migrant that took away the life, I don't even want to describe it, of Laken Riley. That is accountability. That is accountability and consequence.
Wow, this is the saltiest breakfast I've ever had.
You mess around and you're going to find out. That's what you're letting. You're mess around and you're going to find out. And you're getting life in prison without parole. That's what you get. And that guy, let me tell you, that guy, it is not going to be nice in the federal prison. Federal inmates, when they see a rapist, when they see a person that abused a child, they are not going to take that lightly. That guy, it is going to have the worst time of his life in prison. And I'm not saying I'm a son of, I'm a follower of Jesus. Divine justice, it is the divine justice that has to be implemented on every man that has committed a mistake. But also there is the justice of the world. And this justice of the world, that is accountability. You're going to spend your whole life in prison thinking about every single second, every single minute that you committed that assassination.
At least a tablespoon of salt.
That is accountability. That is a consequence. That exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing of that accountability. Exactly the same thing of that consequence needs to happen to all these globalists, to all these Congress people that they have been projecting and incentivizing people to migrate to non-ports of entry into really difficult pathways that they have lost their lives. Man, the collateral damage, you guys don't even know. The environmental disaster. I have been in the Darien Gap. It is just a disaster. The collateral damage of damaging cultures or damaging borders. Oh, my God. It's just irreparable what the Democrats have done. It is irreparable damage. And the globalists, irreparable damage. It is irreparable damage. And now you have a normalization of a conduct to do things illegal. So you're using our people for your political agenda. You're using Latino people because they're in need and they have a necessity for your political agenda. And now with these protests, you're going to have the progressive liberals coming into Mexico, using Mexico, our country and our land, for their trash, political trash, to protest and divide and incentivize violence and incentivize migrants to go to a port of entry and protest. Because you cannot do it in the U.S. because in the U.S. you will get arrested. But over here, you're not going to get arrested for arson and all this kind of stuff. You can get away with it, right? But you're going to use our background for your political trash. It's unbelievable, the dynamics of this, the dynamics. But I just said it, and I said it multiple times. They're going to try to make a run for it. And these last 2 months, and then I'm just giving you the reality and the facts. It is actually happening. There's a massive flow. We have been predicting this. We have been saying this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to make a run for it on the next 2 months. Now, the Trump effect that is going to be effective in the 20th of January, let's see the consequence of that. There's going to be a lot of activity, massive activity that is going to happen. That is going to be a massive consequence. Let's see what happens with that, because I can tell you, in the parts of Tapachula, Chiapas, the CBP1 app, this is the line. When I was there, this is the line. And this was 15 days ago. This is the line. You have 1,500 people on Mondays, 1,500 people on Tuesdays. You got only 2 days that you can go and apply and get your number to jump on a bus, and they can take you to a different state. So from there, you will move to a port of entry of the United States of America. You're talking about 3,000 migrants per week that they are registered. Oscar, se corta mucho tu información. Discúlpame, es mi señal y es lo mejor que puedo hacer. Saludos a todos. Dios me los bendiga. You got 3,000 migrants that they are registered per week to go on this CBP1 app. At this per month, you got 12,000. I believe that everybody deserves a right to migrate. Everybody has. I'm a pro-migrant myself.
So bad, dude.
I believe migration is a human right, but there's laws. And we need to obey those laws. And everybody knows this. But you have more than 12,000 per month. 12,000 that they get them on these buses. You'll see the Mexican official right here giving them the go with the paperwork to the family. And then it's a go.
And tasty
got more than 12,000. These are the buses right here. These are private buses. Who's paying for it? A lot of them, they say the American taxpayer honored the agreement with the Mexican government. A lot of it comes out of the Mexican taxpayer. A lot of it, comes out of international organizations, small amount. These are the buses when they're leaving. So you got more than 3,000.
I don't know if this is really bad for me or not.
12,000 a month.
As much salt.
And that has been continuously happening.
As much in the MRE.
CBP1 app, it is not only in Tapachula, Chiapas, and the south of the border of Mexico, but it's also implemented in the central parts of our country and also on every border that connects from Mexico to the United States of America. This is a thing that basically Donald Trump has said that he's going to eliminate as soon as he comes into office. And as soon as he becomes president, this is going to cause a fracture to the migrants. Inevitably, it's going to cause a fracture to the migrants. Because now they're not going to let them in through a non-port of entry, and they're not going to be able to use an app. So the only thing that you're going to have is what the law says. You go to a lawyer, you apply for your asylum and refugee, and then they study your case, and they will say, yes, you have credible fear, you can enter. That's what it is. So, CBP1 app. A lot of people are not familiar with this situation. I have said it multiple times with Steve Bannon and also with every network that I have worked, and every Spanish working network I have worked. Do a lot of people know how many times migrants have entered this application of CBP1 app? Do a lot of people in the United States know how many times migrants have applied for this CBP1 app? And a lot of the migrants have reapplied. Like they applied once, they declined it, and then they reapplied, and then again. This is absolutely amazing, and I will contest everything that these people are saying because this is fake news network, but I picked it up. And the number, I checked it, and it is kind of accurate. But what they say, it is completely bluntly on a narrative of an open border agenda. But look at this number. It's staggering. And you guys are going to be completely amazed at how many times migrants have entered and re-entered the CBP1 app. Bam. Migrants in Mexico, it says CBS News. that a lot of us consider CBS News fake news. But it says migrants in Mexico have used CBP1 app 64 million times to request entry into the United States of America. This article was released on February 12th of 2024. This is not even November. So you're talking about 64 million times they have entered the app. This doesn't mean that you have 64 million people. Stop with the disinformation. It means that possibly a migrant or a hacker continuously it is trying to move here, to move there, decline. Oh, you're taking too long. I will decline it. I will enter it again. I will decline it. I will enter it again. I will decline it. I will enter it again. But this tells you the level of aggression and the level of massive arrival of intent under the CBP1 app. This is why the app continuously collapses in the borders. This is why the application continuously not only collapses at the borders, but in the central parts of the country of Mexico. And this is why Kamala Harris decided to move the app into the south border states of Mexico, giving millions of dollars to Mexico to move this app over there, to have attention centers and all of this.
From it.
So you move the app down south so you can create an open window for people to have more requests. But you have 64 million times that they have tried to use the CBP1 app. 64 million, bro. Whew. Unbelievable. 64 million. This is why the application it is not enough. This is why a lot of the migrants say it's taking too long. It's taking too long. I'm just going to cross illegally, and that is it. I'm just going to try to make a run for it. Why? Because it's taking too long. It's taking what, 6 months? And then the application, when it goes 6 months, it says denied. So they're like, no, hell no. I'm going to try it again. I'm not denied. I'm going to try to go in illegally. There's already a job waiting for me in the United States. There's already my family waiting over there. I'm not going to, no, I'm going to cross. I talked to a migrant on the last caravan, and he said, I asked him, you already know Donald Trump became president, right? And he said, yes. I asked him, what are you going to do now? Because the application takes around 2 to 3 months. But what are you going to do now that he becomes president and the application hasn't come yet for your approval? What are you going to do? And he's like, I'm going with the faith of God. First and foremost, they always say that. But second of all, what it was surprising, what's the second response? He said, nobody's going to stop me from going to my American dream. And when I cross, however I cross, I would like to look at the eyes of the president and tell him, you're not stopping me. The attitude and the normalization of this conduct, it was spread over by the progressive, mercenary, communist, socialist, Marxist, globalist liberals, and also the Democrats, Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas. This attitude, if migrants will be well-educated by well-educated NGOs, by programs, by technology, on how to do their process correctly and see the consequences of you doing things wrong, what can happen to you. These kind of responses, they will not be happening. A migrant will tell you, first and foremost, what am I doing in the caravan? He will tell you that if he was well-educated. Second of all, he will say, I already know the process. I know that I got to pay $6 or $7. I'm an economical migrant, so I know what to do. I'm a migrant that has a legitimate case of asylum of persecution and refugee and asylum. I know what I got to do. So it will not give you that response.
Yeah, all this had to go to the trash.
That response, it can be considered as violent.
It's just
that response, it can be considered
my entire
as a person
day's salt content.
That
already.
Response, it can tell you that person, he can respect the law or he cannot.
Don't allow us, I mean.
He can respect the law if you let him in the admissible legal way. But if he was not going to respect the law if you don't let him in. because he already said, I'm going in whether you like it or not. So it is the conduct that has been normalized. It is the conduct that ultimately has been normalized illegally by the Democrats to all the people, to all the population for their own political agenda. And then they use that as hatred. They use that to incentivize violence, to divide. Look at this video. Let me just read it again. Migrants in Mexico have used CBP1 app 64 million times to request entry. Let me contest what this guy is saying. I don't even know what this guy, who is this guy? But I am going to contest every single thing that he's saying because I heard a couple of words here, a couple of snippets here and there. And I want to contest everything that he's saying because I never seen this guy at the border. So I want to know who this guy is.
It's been under the spotlight for weeks now because of its dispute with the Biden administration over how to handle the influx of migrants at the southern border.
But new data shows that the flow of migrants crossing into the U.S. illegally has largely shifted away from Texas. According to internal federal government figures, 60% of all unlawful border crossings are now being reported in Arizona and California. For the week ending February 4th, Border Patrol averaged more than 1,800 daily migrant apprehensions in the Tucson sector and more than 1,200 in the San Diego sector. Meanwhile, the El Paso and Rio Grande Valley sectors respectively averaged between 500 and 800 daily apprehensions. The Del Rio sector recorded as few as 200 each day. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoyo Galvez is here with us in Studio 57. You were just there at Eagle Pass, so I want to start there. Let's talk about the news that Texas governor is trying to put more razor wire, more agents there, more of all of these things that the federal government has told him he needs to stop doing. What can you...
Why? Before you move on, why he needs to stop? You have the cartel operating on the other side, lady. These are terrorists. You have the cartel that is operating remotely, bluntly, viciously, without no regulation. The cartel is armed, dangerous, and has every tactical technology that you cannot even imagine, and is making billions out of this humanitarian crisis. Why? Why? Why he is going to stop? Why he needs to stop? I'm just going little by little on every single.
Can you tell us about what's happening?
Ilana, Elaine, as you just mentioned, I just returned from Eagle Pass, Texas. This border town has been effectively fortified by the Texas National Guard with razor wire and concertina wire, shipping containers and other barriers meant to impede the passage of migrants trying to cross into the U.S. illegally. It essentially looks like a...
Thank you so much for saying that. Illegally. You said it correctly. You said it correctly, illegally. And it looks like a combat zone. Then you say, it looks like a combat zone. I want to contest that with you, my brother.
Combat zone because of all of these troops and razor wire.
I would like for you to go to the Darien Gap. You're a politician and immigration source. I would like for you to go to the Darien Gap and see how the border agents of Panama, they carry an R-15, a 9mm on their chest, and a backpack that weighs around 25 to 30 kilos through the Darien, because they know that there is going to be the organized crime of Colombia, the cartel of Colombia that has been in there when there was a massive gunfight. They know that there's delinquent, they know that there's bad people, and it looks like a combat zone because you're fighting the organized crime and the cartel. You're actually saying that Governor Greg Abbott, it is saying that they're sending the military and it looks like a combat zone. I don't know if you've ever been in a combat zone, but I have been in a combat area and I have covered 3 wars, Ukraine, 2 times Israel, and they're fighting terrorists. The cartel, I don't know how you designate these people, my brother, but the cartel, they are not nice people. Let me just tell you this. The cartel, they are really dangerous people, and they're highly equipped. And they have a highly technology that you cannot even imagine. Fact of the matter is that possibly they already know this report and they already know everything. They are extremely equipped and extremely highly technology equipped. So if you are in these particular areas where they are making billions out of your territory, how are you going to protect yourself? Let me just ask you this. Before the pandering that it looks like a combat zone, possibly it looks, possibly it doesn't. Because a combat zone, you have people that are dying, people that are actually shooting at each other, people that are basically, a combat. Basically you're combating one-on-one. That's a combat zone, my brother.
And other barriers impeding the passage of migrants. Now the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, is saying that he will expand this operation to other parts of Texas to deter illegal crossings. And it's important to note that this area has not just been sealed off to migrants, it is also now preventing federal Border Patrol agents from processing migrants there, because Texas argues that incentivizes more illegal immigration.
Exactly. And why they should be processing through a non-port of entry. This is the regularization of a normalization conduct that you are basically admitting that Border Patrol agents cannot be processing illegal entries. And the word, it is correct, completely incorrect. Why are you processing people through non-ports of entry? You should be processing people to a port of entry. It is not supposed to be processing. It's supposed to be detaining individuals that they're coming in through a non-port of entry or an open border gap. The correct language, it is always going to be factual, and it's extremely important that you use it. If Border Patrol agents, it is interrupting them from applying their job and detaining illegal immigrants or migrants that they're crossing irregularly or illicitly or illegally through a non-port of entry, that is another ballgame. But if you're telling me that the Border Patrol agents, there are, because of these barriers, it is impeding themselves from processing. The Border Patrol is not a processing unit, my brother. The Border Patrol, it is made to protect the border. And people that they enter irregularly or illicitly through a non-port of entry, they should be, and they could be detained or stopped, because that is a federal crime. I don't know if you know, but if you come with this argument that Alexandria Ocasio says, oh, legal asylees and refugees, they're not criminals. I understand that, but how comparable can you say, and how comparable can you give me in a statistic of how many of these people that have entered illicitly and illegally through a non-port of entry are qualified as a legitimate case of credible fear for asylum and refugee, when a lot of these people, they are economical migrants. I have walked 12 caravans and I have walked 4 times the Darien Gap and documented migration the whole continent. So I know that the majority of them are coming for a better job. Plus, let me add you, if you already have this on, and I don't know if you have thought about it, let me just know, when have you asked a migrant that is coming because of climate change? I'm migrating because of climate change. Where are you going to process those?
The Department of Homeland Security is saying that this is preventing Border Patrol from doing its job, but Texas is arguing that it is defending itself from a quote-unquote invasion. That is the term that Governor Abbott is using to describe the situation. We obviously have to underscore that there is no military offensive being waged along the border, and that most of these migrants are not serious criminals, and they're certainly not armed. But obviously illegal crossings are at record levels.
So it's interesting.
There's a lot of good people coming in. Man, I have been with a lot of good people. And a lot of people in my life are going to contest this. They're coming in illegally, Oscar. They're illegals. They're invaders. A lot of people use those terms, and I don't like those terms. Really, I don't like them. But there's a lot of good people coming. There's a lot of good people. I have walked with a lot of good people. Teachers, doctors, entrepreneurs, hardworking people that they want a better opportunity in life. But I have walked with really bad people. And you are arguing that stopping this, it is preventing the good people from coming in, but the bad people are still coming in. Now, The question is, how many of the bad people have come in? And you're already seeing this as a natural effect in Chicago, in New York, in Colorado. For God's sake, their criminal was the other day was sentenced to life for the assassination of Laken Riley. These kind of situations shouldn't be happening if you will have a filter. And if you will have a process, a well-educated process for our people to not migrate through these particular pathways, that they shouldn't be a processing center. They shouldn't be a port of entry. This is not a pedestrian port of entry. First and foremost, let me tell you this. What you're doing, defending these non-port of entries, my brother, is that you're incentivizing the cartel to continue to smuggle and process to people through these particular pathways, because the cartel controls the other side of the border and controls the smuggling. And it is becoming hardly and extremely difficult for the Mexican authorities to combat that, because the cartel is making millions and has better equipment than the Mexican authorities. By you defending these non-port of entries, it incentivizes the cartel to have more activity to these particular places. But you on the other side, on your safe pattern and on your safe spot, you're saying this looks like a combat zone. But on the other side, you will have cartel people that are killing each other and shooting at each other and non-ports of entry because they want to control the territory. But on your side, you're saying it looks like a combat zone. But on this side, under the administration of Andrés Manuel López Obrador,
oh boy, Hassan got an article written about him on Fox News. Cheerleading for terrorism. Ooh, he got a video.
Well,
wait, is this is okay? Yeah, we've already seen every single one of these. A popular Amazon-owned platform geared towards teenagers and young adults is filled with extremist content. Well, that's true. Hassan has millions of followers, broadcast propaganda from Yemen Houthis, frame violent terrorist acts as resistance, express sympathy for extremist groups. So, oh wow, this is actually a really big one. God damn. Did not have an issue with Hezbollah, which the U.S. considers a terrorist organization. Do we like them? Palm.
Do we like them or no? I think as a resistance group, they're pretty successful against Israel. Like, I like what you like. I don't have an issue with them, let's just say. But they are a terrorist organization. I do not like them then.
Oh, you want to see a Houthi musical? Sure.
I know they're singing, but I'm seeing just guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hassan.
Piker platformed Houthi sympathizer who he likened to acclaimed actor Timothy Chalamet. So, oh wow. Oh no. Like, I'm actually kind of surprised this article is this in-depth. I was expecting this to just be like, you know, a paragraph or something like that. Well, what are the comments saying? Oh yeah. I don't want to misquote him, but didn't he say that Dan Crenshaw got...
What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some mujahideen, a brave fucking soldier, his eye hole with their dick? Isn't that how he lost his dumbass eye? Because he got his eye hole.
I don't remember the exact language that was used. I think that the problem is with moderation. Moderation on Twitch is circumstantial. It is reactive. I'll tell you right now, the moderation team does not like me. I mean, there were literally like messages that were leaked of them saying bad shit about me in the company chat. Imagine what they say privately. The real problem is that the Twitch moderation team does not hold people accountable equally. And I think that any sort of objective or reasonable investigation into that reveals that to be the case. And I think that's really why a lot of this pushback is happening.
He torpedoed... Oh, dude, America deserves 1 million January 6s. Come on. Both in terms of like the entertainment and also in terms of just like overall distrust and anger towards the government.
Now imagine for a second if old Voldemort here said the exact same thing. And before people say he's joking.
Didn't someone die on January 6th? Yeah, dude, because she fucking broke through the barrier.
Why do people watch this dude? I don't get it. On, you guys care about what he says. I'll get it. Fine. I don't care.
This morning, questions about potential sabotage after 2 underwater internet cables connecting parts of Europe to the NATO countries of Finland and Sweden were severed under the Baltic Sea. A cargo ship in the area owned by a Chinese company has raised suspicion. Local authorities now tracking the ship that set sail from Russia. Unconfirmed reports claim the captain is Russian. European officials not directly blaming Russia for the disconnected cables, but Germany and Finland saying our European security is not only under threat from Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, but also from hybrid warfare by malicious actors. Hybrid warfare is a term that could include unconventional tactics like cyber attacks.
Speaking generally, we are incredibly concerned about hybrid warfare conducted by Russia, both in Europe and around the world, and it's something that we have been in close coordination with our European allies.
It comes as Ukraine launches British-made cruise missiles into Russia for the first time, just days after President Biden allowed Ukraine to fire American long-range missiles into Russian territory. Ukraine is fighting to hold a small patch of Russian territory to use as possible negotiating leverage with Russian President Vladimir Putin. ABC's Ian Pannell with exclusive access to this command center, where Ukrainian drone operators are launching attacks on Russian troops.
For Ukrainians, we do not have a choice. We have to fight because we are fighting for our land and for our way of life, for our freedom.
Putin this week escalating his nuclear rhetoric, and Reuters reporting Russia is now making these mobile bomb shelters which can protect against a nuclear blast. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
How they're buying those bomb shelters. I think that's it, y'all. Most of the news that done happened, I think. A lot happened today, though. Embassy in Kyiv is reopened. That happened too. Yeah. Thanks for hanging. This T, Northwest Media, and everybody else. Sun's about to be on the food. Ain't nobody else coming to eat that plate. I get Tux some lunch in a little bit after the sun gets off the plates. Like, that dude eating all that sauce making me sleepy for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I'm like exhausted feeling all of a sudden, super thirsty. I'm telling you, there was an insane amount of salt in there. My fucking oatmeal smelled like bleach almost. And the water that was left behind when I scooped it up, the salt turned into salt granules on the bottom of the container that I cooked the oatmeal in, and it was like it's coated in white. Like, dude, there was so much salt. I'm about to down a whole nother bottle of water. Throwing it out. Next time I'll just throw it out. Thanks, everybody. See if we get Simon to eat something in a minute here. I'm gonna bring his food out at 11:30. 40. Hopefully he eats. We'll see. See you on the next one. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.